Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you all for being here. We have some new faces in our audience. We're happy that you're all here. My name is Penny Wright. I'm in charge of adult programs here at the Rogers Memorial Library, and we're really pleased tonight to have Frances Cole Jones as our speaker. I was actually trying to remember how I first heard about her, but it may have been that I noticed that she was a speaker at Fridays at 5, and I pay attention very often to who they have because they're usually good speakers and notable authors. So, I took her book out thinking, I might have heard most of this. I mean, a lot of people have that feeling, I think. And when I started reading the book, I thought, wow, this is such an amazing book. And so we're delighted that she's here today to talk about her book. I want to tell you a little bit about her. Obviously, I want to thank Southampton Books for bringing a few books to sell. I think we may be sold out. We may have one more to sell, but we only have 3 left. But the title of the book is How to Wow, Proven Strategies for Selling Your Brilliant Self in Any Situation, and the Wow Factor, the 33 things you must and must not do to guarantee your edge in today's business world. She also has an app for the iPhone and iPad called Interview Wow, which I hope she'll tell us a little bit more about. Time magazine said about her book, Jones's shrewd book will give the nervously employed that requisite competitive edge. Her blog was voted one of the top 100 websites for women by Forbes.com. She appears frequently on ABC and Fox News, is a body language expert for The Insider, a business etiquette expert for Demand Media's eHow video series, and a job interview expert for About.com. Frances Cole Jones speaks frequently around the country on topics such as 10 things you can do today to wow tomorrow, catch your customers' attention, keep their trust, and the art of selling. In addition to writing and speaking, Frances Cole Jones is the president of Cole Media Management, a media training company focused on cultivating clients' inherent strengths to develop more powerful communication skills. Prior to founding Cole Media Management, she worked at St. Martin's Press, Viking, Penguin, and Doubleday as an editor of commercial nonfiction. The experience of helping authors translate their ideas into books and retain their unique voice is part of what makes her valuable to clients. There's no point in my writing a perfectly crafted soundbite that you have to strain to remember, she says. You need to sound like you on your best day. Please welcome Frances Cole Jones.
I just need to find my microphone. Where did we put that?
Yes, in the plant. We put them in the plants.
We put them in the plant.
In the plants next to the candlestick.
Now, in the first part of How to Wow. Hello.
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
Good. So the first statistic I give everybody, really no matter what the situation, comes from a study that was done at UCLA. There are 3 components to your message: verbal, vocal, and visual. What would you guess is the percentage that people remember of the actual words that you say? Any guesses? It's only 7%. So 38% of your impact comes from your tonal quality, what your voice is doing while you're speaking, and then 55% comes from what your body's doing while you're talking. So my whole job, what I talk to my clients about, what we talk to you guys about, is okay, given that, how do you make what you're going to be saying as memorable as possible and as persuasive as possible so you can get people to do what you want them to do for you? And then how do you organize your physicality and your tonality so that nothing detracts from what you're trying to get done? Yale University did a study of the 12 most persuasive words in the English language. The most persuasive word in the English language is you. So the more that you can, when you're talking to people, be like, as I'm sure you know, as I'm sure you've heard, when I was thinking about talking to you today, right? And that makes sense, because everyone gets up in the morning, you're the hero of your story. And then you run into somebody who seems to feel the same way, and you're like, I like them. Like, I can't put my finger on why. So, you. The next statistic I give people comes from a social psychologist named Ellen Langer, who is at Harvard right now. And she did a study that showed that there's one word that increases the possibility of cooperation from 60 to 94%. Any guesses about what that might be?
Us.
Good guesses. It's actually because. I wanted to talk to you today because. And again, what happens is, you're so clear on why you need something done that you forget to spell it out for other people. What I always tell my clients is this works just as well in real life as it does in a work situation. Because if you're in line at the supermarket here on a busy Friday, and somebody cuts the line, you're grumpy, right? But if they turn to you and say, do you mind if I cut the line because I'm late to pick up my kids? You're going to let the line cut go. You're still going to be grumpy about it, but you're going to let the line cut go. So it's always giving people the because behind any request that you make. And the third part of this, and this is really the formula for getting people to do what you want them to do for you anytime, comes from the Duncan Hines cake mix marketing team. Have any of you bumped into this? So when Duncan Hines first started making cake mix, the decision to have you at home add the egg was actually made in the marketing department. Because what they realized is that when we add the egg to the mix, we're like, oh, I baked, right? I contributed to the cake. And there's no reason for that, right? But those mixes where it says like, just add water, and you feel sad about yourself, right? And you feel like you didn't do enough. You're being manipulated. So again, how does this work in a business context or day-to-day context? I'll tell you a story to make my point. I was working one day with a movie actress, and she was going in to read for a really, really strong female part. And I said to her, I was like, why do you want to play this part? She's like, I love this part, and I feel like I was born to play this part. And I thought, wow, this is going to be such a really long day that we're about to have together, you and me. So I said, okay, let's look at the resume of the gentleman that you're meeting with. And it turned out that he had produced both Kramer versus Kramer and Fatal Attraction, right? So those are huge female roles. Those are game-changing female roles. So she was able to go into a meeting with him and say, I was so excited when I found out it was you because you're the person who created these iconic characters, and it came as no surprise to me that you would buy this script. And all of a sudden he's like, it's true. Right? And that was his egg, right? That's what he was contributing to her success. So you plus because plus the egg pretty much will get you anything that you need. The other thing to think about as you're talking to people is the importance of staying away from what's known in my business as useless modifiers. Like, it's great, it's amazing, it's incredible, it's so cool. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about your cell phone, you're talking about your sandwich, like, nothing's happening. But studies show that people remember stories longer, they trust them more, and they repeat them more accurately. So it's just starting to have really short stories for everything that you're talking about. If you're selling something, if you're selling a product, you don't want to say, my product's just really amazing, it's just really great, it's just really incredible. No, it has to be why. How is it going to make my life better? And I talk to people a lot who are going in for job interviews. And one of the most hideous questions is like, what's your greatest strength? And the answer to that can't be, I'm just a really amazing leader, I'm just a really great leader, I just really love leading people, that nothing is happening, right? It has to be a story. This was the situation, and this is how I fixed it, and yay for me. So I want you to have those stories in your back pocket. And a great place to watch people talk without using useless modifiers is, do any of you ever watch cooking shows? Right, so cooking shows, really work with chefs all the time for this reason. Because, you can't smell the food and you can't taste the food. But so they'll be, they'll be talking like, the smell of these cookies baking is just like sitting on my grandmother's back porch and watching the laundry dry on the line and the grass and the fun. And by the time the program's over, Like, you either want to bake the cookie or you want to call your nana, but like something's happened where you're having an emotional response. So, yeah. So those are some of the ways to make the words that you're saying more memorable. Any questions about any of that? Making sense so far? Good. So far, so good. So 38% of your impact comes from your tonal quality, what your voice is doing while you're speaking. And that's as seemingly small as, when you meet somebody new and they go like, I'm really happy to meet you. And you're like, well, you don't seem happy. And you haven't even gotten through how do you do, and there's already a problem. So my request is always, if you're going to say you're happy about anything, I want a whole lot of happy happening. And then the other place day to day, I want people to think about it as if you have to apologize for anything. I don't know how many of you ever had the experience of calling Verizon customer service, right? And they've obviously been given a script, and you'll call up and you'll be like, she said I dropped my phone in the washing machine. You're freaking out. And then you'll get someone who's like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. No, I won't regret. I'm so sorry that happened. It's terrible. Don't I sound like I care right now? And again, where does this come up most of the time day to day? Usually with people's voicemail greeting. And I don't know about you, but I hear a lot of bad voicemail greetings. People sound exhausted, they sound drunk, they sound overly flirtatious, they sound like they're speaking to children. All of these different kinds of things can go wrong. But again, I was working with a client one day, and he said, like, okay, let's call my voicemail and let's, let me see what you think. So, we called it, and he's like, hey, this is so-and-so, and I am sorry I missed your call. I'm like, sweetie, can't sound like you're at Disney World. Like, particularly because you work in finance, right? Now I just think you've left with my money. So it has to be like, I'm so sorry I missed your call. Just a few other things to think about when you're recording your voicemail greeting. My request is always, I want you, if you can stand when you're recording it, because standing automatically gives your voice so much more energy and enthusiasm. I want you to inhale and then hit record and speak on an exhalation, because what I don't want to hear is, hi, right? That makes me crazy. And then people say, if you call their house and they'll say, this be, and you can also call my cell phone, and that number's 917-838-56, and you're like, okay, now you have to call their machine 6 times to get it, and you're enraged, right? And you haven't met, and you're already angry. So it's just really about making sure all of those different pieces are in play. So that's your tonal quality, making sure that that's working for you. Any questions about that? Anything you've noticed? I get hired a lot to work with, I get hired by CEOs to work with their younger generation about getting rid of what's known as upspeak, where everything they say sounds like a question. So it's like, my name is Frances, and if I don't sound like I know my own name, then we have a problem. So I do a little bit of that stuff. And then the other thing that I work with people on quite a bit is the importance of speaking from your diaphragm, so speaking from down here, because the difference is, if I'm not speaking from my diaphragm, I'm speaking from up here. All right, I'm going to sound like an idiot because I'm not. I have no authority, so it's really just about getting down into that lowest possible register as much as possible, particularly if you're dealing with people who are agitated. As you heard, I do a lot of work with selling. I also do quite a bit of work with customer service. So when someone's coming at you and they're like, and their voice is getting higher and higher and higher, you really need to stay down in this nice lowest register. So that's your 38% in making that memorable. Any questions about those things? So far so good? Everything good?
So far so good.
Good. 55% of your impact comes from what your body's doing while you're speaking. So it's one of the reasons why I always do try when I'm speaking to people to stand when I'm speaking and not have anything in front of me. Only because I think that speakers automatically become less interesting when they're standing behind a podium. It really doesn't matter. Like if I were to be standing behind, it's a block of wood. It's not going to help me out. So again, I know that I'm used to talking in front of people, but if as much as possible you can begin to get out from behind those if you do that kind of thing. The other thing I talk to people about is standing in neutral. And neutral is just right here. Okay. So it's not here or here or here. any of the different places that we tend to default to when we're nervous. So it's just about being able to stand with your hands by your side, with your weight in both of your feet. It's actually surprisingly difficult. But it always looks better. And again, I'll tell you a story to make my point. A few years ago, I don't know how many of you remember, there was the Hope for Haiti benefit, right? And so one after the other, they had all the different celebrities coming on to you know, the Tom Hankses and the Brad Pitts, and there was just a lot of really weird physicality going on, which surprised me. No, all this is going on. But the two people that night that were able to stand in neutral really beautifully, former President Clinton, love him or hate him, he can stand in neutral. You'll notice it now. He can take applause for like 10 minutes without fidgeting. He's like, thank you, amazing. And then Denzel Washington, because he's Denzel, right? But what was interesting is the next morning, you know, I'm watching like all the whole wrap up of the covers, and the two clips they show over and over, former President Clinton and Denzel Washington. So it's just about that kind of being able to stand and not fidget. So, the other thing I work with people on quite a bit, which my friends always find funny, is how to sit in a chair. But what I always tell them is, there are a lot of ways to make a living, and I have figured out how to monetize this one. So, yay for me. So I got a call one day from one of the movie magazines, and they said, can you come in and meet with one of our editors? Because he's going in, he gets taped all the time by like Access Hollywood and Entertainment Tonight, and they never use the tape. And we don't know why, like we don't know what he's doing. And I said, yeah, because really nothing is more fun than that. So this guy walks in the room and he sits down in the chair and he goes, well, right? I'm so finished with this coaching session, I don't even need to sit through the next like hour with his whole thing. Because nobody wants to listen to this guy, right? No one wants to listen to this guy. So really, how do I need people to be? My request is always that you sit right about here if you're in meetings or if you're trying to get people's attention. Because there's a big difference between my talking to you like this and my having the exact same conversation with my back on the back of the chair, right? And I don't want you all the way on the edge of the chair, right? Okay, so it's not like, oh, please pick me. It's just usually right about here when I'm working with someone. And it doesn't need to be that way, but when I'm running a meeting, this is about where I am. And then, you know, if you're talking, I'm here. But then when I disagree with you, all you have to do is do that, and all of a sudden everybody's on notice. The other thing to think about, just because it's fun to know, is we trust you when we can see your hands, and we don't trust you when we can't. Which is why, you know, the first thing they say to the alleged criminal is, you know, put your hands where I can see them. Is that right? Yeah. So, you know, I really do want your hands on tables during meetings and out of your pockets and things. But it does beg the question of how I want your hands to be. I'm just going to move this back. Can the camera, I'm going to show this a little bit. You know those meetings where, I'm going to disarrange you so I can use this table. Just, can you swivel your heads just to see this? Sorry. Hello, group. Do you know those meetings where everybody walks in the room and they do this? And you're like, it's going to be a really long day. That's the only thing you're thinking, right? Because this is just the sitting down version of this when you're standing, right? And so then I had one of my guys say to me, well, what if I talk to you like this? And I was like, well, it looks like you don't believe anything that's coming out of my mouth. Don't love this face. And then I had another guy's like, so you want me to sit like that? I was like, well, not like you're getting fingerprinted. You know, particularly because you work in finance. So really, I just when you're sitting at a table, I really just need your hands, you know, really right about here. So yes, and particularly if you're talking about money. Thank you. So again, those are just like some little things to think about. And it's fun, you know, as you heard, one of my most dubious credentials is being a body language expert for the insider, which is, you know, as my mother said, that terrible program where everyone screams at each other. I'm like, yes. But there's really not much more to what's going on than just really starting to observe and have a little bit of fun with that. So, any questions about any of those things? Yes?
Can you move your hands around too much? I know I have a tendency to talk with my hands, right? And you're really not supposed to do that. Just keep them on the table, or what's your standard?
Did everybody hear the question? It's just about talking with your hands. I don't mind. I mean, as you see, I don't mind as long as it's an outgrowth of enthusiasm. You know, it's worrying if, like, recently I was working with a client who does a lot of television, and he tends to, like, he's up here, and he just looks crazy because they were shooting him from the waist up, and it was just that was not a good situation. But as long as you know you're talking, and it's just that that doesn't bother me at all. No, because if you're committed to what you're saying, that's hopefully what people are paying more attention to. Yeah. Authenticity trumps pretty much everything. Yeah. Other questions? Yes.
Could you talk about eye contact also?
Yes. Eye contact, good. I think that, I think eye contact is incredibly important. I mean, there are different schools of thought. I mean, because a lot of people feel weird about just staring deeply into somebody else's eyes. Yes? Does that make sense? So there is a school of thought, I actually wrote about it in my book, that when you are trying to persuade somebody about something, what you want to do is look into their left eye as you face them. You can practice on each other right now if you want to. And then so that's really good for persuading, and that's usually what I do and what I've been doing with all of you pretty much the whole time that I've been here. So I'm pretty much focused only on your left eye while I'm talking to you.
Why the left way?
It comes down to it's an Ayurvedic principle about the different sides of your body for different things. Like right side is fire, left side is water. So if you're persuading somebody, you look in their left eye. But when you're finished with the whole persuasion part of the program and you just want them to do what you want them to do, you look in their right eye. Now I don't know. I mean, again, I found that it works for me.
Both eyes?
Not in both eyes, actually. But you can fly freely through the world and try it out on other people. Yes?
The left eye from our perspective or their actual left eye?
I'm looking into your left eye right now, yes, from my perspective. Again, it's what you want to do. The other thing to think about is...
Wait, so you're looking his left eye like this?
Yes, I just tend to focus on the one eye
Yeah.
while I'm talking.
You're talking about what's their left eye, not what's on the left side when you're looking at them.
Right.
On your left eye on your body, as so
Yeah.
diagonal.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it did. When you first said from
From my
perspective,
as I face
that
it.
could have been confusing
Oh, I'm sorry.
because from your perspective, his left eye might look like his right eye. Do you see what I'm saying? If you look at his face and look to the left, that would be his right
The
eye.
person's eye, never mind which side, it's going to reverse.
No, I look at
the person's eye.
His actual left
the
eye.
eye that is on the left side of their body. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah, it's reversed.
totally.
Yes. Yeah, so pick a point. So I'm just saying, if you're persuading, that's the eye that I pick. You all can move through the world and try it out. Just to go back to tonal quality really quickly, just because it reminded me of something else in terms of other things that you might want to try out after you leave here. The one tonal quality that I like people to have in their back pocket is what I refer to as your inner New York restaurant hostess, or at least this time of year, your inner Southampton restaurant hostess. Because she's the one who's like, oh, you know what, your tables can be another half an hour? And she looks so happy that you're like, all right, because there's such a really weird disconnect between how happy she seems and the information that you're getting. So I tend to try to keep that in my back pocket for moments when I'm done trying to persuade people about things, and now it's just, we're finished with the conversation. One of my clients is actually using it quite a lot with her kids. She's like, you know, you can't have the car keys. And she says it's amazing because the kids are just folding. They're like, all right, because there's like, Mom, it just seems so weird. So anyway, you can file that one away. Other questions or things that are coming up? Yes.
Just to go backtrack a little, so if you say I'm happy about saying something negative,
Right.
it's almost like then
It's,
they'll
yeah.
actually do it.
Well, if it's something that you just need them to do, yeah, it's not for every situation, but sometimes, you know, when you've tried to reason and you've tried to explain and you've tried to work around it and now we're done with the conversation, but you can just kind of be like, oh, you know, okay, enough. So yes, that's what I keep that one in my back pocket. It's also for, you know, if I'm working with a CEO who's choosing, he just is not wanting to do what it is that I've asked him to do or her to do. Then we use the tone of the Inner New York Restaurant Hostess, but then the other deeply magical phrase that I love, which is, it's not a choice. Right? It's great, it seems innocuous, but there's no like, you need to, or I have to, there's no I and there's no you. So at the end, it's not a choice. And it's amazing how quickly people fold. They're like, all right. So I love that one. Yes.
I just wanted to say something about using your hands. I am a Yankee who lives in the South, and when I lived in Charlotte, I had a part-time job at a real estate firm. And clearly there was a thing, they were sort of all making fun of me, and it was because I used my hands too much. So I just think it's neither here nor there, but I think to them it was crass, or I don't know, or I don't know what it was, but it was something. I guess knowing your audience would be one thing. I mean, if you're, it's a regional dialect. And it's really true when I stopped and looked at it. In general, the people I knew who lived in the South did not use their hands as much as people that I knew from New York and Long Island. And I don't know, it just was something that nobody had ever said to me. Made fun of, they sort of made fun of me about it, and I never thought of myself. It's not like I'm, I'm not like this kind of person, but just an experience I had.
I mean, again, I think, no, absolutely. I think different people will do things differently. So yes, in the South, they're often very ladylike.
Yeah.
And gentlemanly. So different things happen. So other questions or things that come up, as you said, I mean, really the purpose of the time that I have with you guys is to talk about anything that's going on. Yes?
In my background, once you maybe let something slide, second time you come back with it. So I think you're saying like all the ways to make an impression, and then you mentioned like needless words. One of my pet peeves is when I'm referred to, or I might be going out to dinner with a group of women, and the service person will come and say, what would you guys like to eat? And I mean, I don't know how to convince them that I'm not a guy. Or even when I was looking through the table of contents thinking about buying a book, and there was a chapter, Manners Maketh Man. I put it down. Let's hear the speech first. But it's like, the thing is, certain terms, certain things can convey things that we need to be conscious of to not convey things that
Right. I mean, and you don't.
affect our audience.
Right, and different things land differently for different people.
Like the term guys is kind of a filler. It used to be folks, it used to be other words, but usually in the context that it said, no words is needed at all.
Sometimes. I mean, my husband can tell you, we had a funny interchange at one point about the distinction between let me know what I can do and how can I help? Because let me know what I can do is kind of lands for me like, let me know what I can do while I lounge on the sofa. Whereas how can I help sounds like something's about to happen immediately, and it makes me feel much better. So yes, different phrases work well for different people. Yes.
So you walk into a room and there's like 10 people and they're ready to interview you. How long does it take for them to get that first impression? 10 seconds, 30 seconds when they've had their mind made up? Isn't there like a amount of time where
you definitely walk in and give and leave an immediate impression or give an immediate impression. So I think you want to, one of the things as you heard, one of the things I have is I have an app for the iPhone called Interview Wow that has a 72-hour pre-interview countdown clock on it for all the things that you should be thinking about 72 hours before. I know, who knew? All the different ways to start being nervous ahead of time. But yes, my rule of thumb in Manhattan is that you're interviewing from 3 blocks away because you simply don't know who's going to see you. Changing your shoes in the elevator or, complaining to the coffee guy downstairs. So just being mindful about those kinds of things.
Do you still wear stockings?
I don't. I think it depends on the industry you're interviewing for. But I did have one of my CEOs tell me that he was interviewing people for a sales position. He was looking out the window of his office and he saw this woman get out of the car and comb her hair in the parking lot. And he said, I can't hire her because I can't hire somebody who does their personal grooming in public. So this poor woman hadn't even gotten in the building and she'd already lost the job. It's extreme. But yes, I think that, there are ways to make an immediate good impression. A seemingly small thing that I always encourage people to do is just to really speak to the receptionist, find out the receptionist's name, and, thank them on the way out. One of my CEOs told me that when he was interviewing for the job, he was in competition with 3 or 4 other people, and the receptionist's opinion was one of the ones that was factored in. It was like the head of HR, the other guy who's going to be in that because, he had taken the time. So it's all those very small things. Yes?
Francis.
Hey.
I'm wondering about how to prospect one's business in social gatherings like we have here in the Hamptons, sort of networking meetings or social events where I can meet other people and talk about my business and try to find out if there's a good fit and maybe make connections that way.
I think in any situation where you're doing something like that, it's all about, again, looking for the egg. So nobody cares about your business as much as they care about how your business is going to make their life better. So it's about, as you get into somebody, finding out what they do, what their situation is, what they need, what they want, and then kind of figuring out, does your business provide something that's going to make their life better? And then what you do is you say, you mentioned that you're whatever, X is Y or Z, and in fact, I can do this. I can help you. I can help out with this. So all of a sudden, now it's interesting because you're not talking about yourself. You're talking about them, and again, it comes back to you. So it's just putting things in that context of this is how I'm going to add value. This is how I'm going to make you look good. This is how I'm going to make you feel better. Those kinds of things. It was funny, I was working recently, I was out in Las Vegas speaking to the National Jewelry Show. And I rarely get questions that I've never had before, but someone stood up and they said, what do you do if you work in a shop and somebody comes in and you say to them, are you looking for anything in particular? And they say, I don't know, but I'll know it when I see it. And I was like, for me, that's just catnip. I was like, wow, what a good question. My response to her was, in that moment, the egg would be, I totally get that about you. Because, I can tell by looking at you that you have a really distinct style. How did you put that together? And all of a sudden they're like, well, let me tell you about myself a little bit. And by the time they left the shop, you're totally best friends. So it kind of goes from there. But, yes. Yes.
So you're getting into the social part of it too. I've struggled at times with how much in social things, like be myself, whatever that means, versus having tricks or edges or other things.
Well, I think as I mentioned earlier, it's about being authentic, and then just organizing, as we heard, your physicality and your tonality, just to let people know that you are engaged while you're talking to them. I think out here, or pretty much anywhere in the world, you know, people are kind of talking to you, but they're kind of looking over your shoulder to see if someone more interesting is walking in. And that's just off-putting. You know, you want to actually try to stay with somebody. You know, and again, it's a seemingly small thing, but it makes all the difference. The other really truly magical phrase that I use a lot is, you know, tell me more about that. Because how rarely do you hear that? Or you know, people are usually like, you finish talking like, okay, but let me tell you what happened to me. So, you know, tell me more about that. It's incredibly, like, people love that one when it's coming at you. So, yes, I break that out a lot. Yes, Madam.
Do you have any quick fixes for saving yourself? Like, you know, sometimes I feel great in a social situation, but every once in a while, I mean, when it starts going downhill with someone, and I start talking too much and overcompensating, and then I start slouching, and it just goes all downhill. Is there, or, you know, if you were in an interview, maybe sometimes you think, okay, well, that's already gone to potty, so I'll be, you know, brushing my hair in the parking lot. But is there a way of sort of saving the situation? And it is like that out here. Like sometimes you haven't seen somebody in a year. You don't want it to be an unpleasant exchange, but it goes sideways.
Right.
Like how do you fix it? You know, I mean, how do you? I guess you said take a deep breath, sit up straight. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's always good just to be completely forthright and just say, you know what? No, you can't. Stop it. But you know what? You could just say, you know what? I think I just rode this conversation right down some wacky rabbit hole. So I'm going to stop it and bring it back. And frankly, what I'd love to hear a little bit more about is what's going on with you. And all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, me again. I love.
And then they forget all.
I love, yeah. But just again, filling people in on what's happening. I mean, again, it's a small thing, but it's a little bit like. When I walked up here before and I couldn't find the microphone, I mean, I could stand up here and pretend that I knew where the microphone was, but that was going to happen. So it's really letting people in on what's happening for you. Like, oh, they're in the plans. Okay, great. Now we're fine. Let's move along briskly. The other thing, though, is giving people the because behind why you are making the request. So in that situation, it's like, I'm going to stop this because I think I've gone down a wacky rabbit hole. If you're in a job interview and you're asked a question you don't know the answer to, what I always want people to do is to stop and say, I'd like to think about that for a second because I want to be sure to give you the best answer possible. Because no interviewer is like, can you believe that guy that wanted to give me the best answer possible? What was wrong? No. So it's just, you back-ending it with that is often really helpful. Yes.
Princess, would you give us some teasers about your new book, Allowing Personal Preparing Today for Tomorrow?
Well, it's not really so much a new book. What I do day to day is, or not day to day, but actually week to week, is one of the best things I did, and I highly recommend it for most people, is I put an Ask a Question button on my website. So what I do is people do write me all day, every day, which I love. And then, answer their questions. And if there is something in particular that keeps coming up, then I get into that in different blog posts. I have a weekly blog post that I send out. It's called the Wow of the Week. So you can sign up for it on the site. And people always worry about, like, what are you going to do with my email address? And I was like, if I even understood how that whole thing worked, I would, I could think about trying to, I don't even know how to find the list, or just sell the list. So you're completely safe. But so that's really, it's not so much a book right now, it's just almost day to day as different things come up for people. Yes, I was talking earlier today via email with a client, a woman who said that as a wife and a mother, she goes out to dinner with her husband and she's not taken seriously because people think that she doesn't have as much to contribute because she's a stay-at-home mom. So one of the things that I was talking to her about is look at what you do all day, every day, and the organizational skills that are required in being a mother. Let's start with, you're a quick change artist. Let's start with, you're unbelievably good at information gathering. You could take on the CIA with that one. All these different things that are transferable skills that you can bring into that conversation when you feel like you have nothing to contribute. So yes, I like to respond in the moment to what's going on. There are these. It is just my name, FrancisColeJones.com. And then How to Wow has in it, I guess, it's some job interviewing, some one-on-one encounters, whether that's meetings or lunches or whatever it might be, how to give a good speech. I did a little bit with writing, just things, how to write an effective email. I have 5 or 6 subject lines I never want to see in an email. My foremost or least favorite one that I hate receiving, crisis! Really? And my rule of thumb on that is, when something happens in our country, does our president go to the crisis room? He does not. Where does he go? Fans of the West Wing. He goes to the situation room. So my rule of thumb with clients is never and ever again and going forward, do you have a crisis or a problem? You only have a situation or a dilemma. Or if you're riding the MTA, there's been an incident. There's been an incident on the 6 train. You'll notice it now. Get other headers I don't love. Urgent! All caps, really? Because is it as urgent for me as it is for you? And if it's not, now again, I'm annoyed before I even open it. But I love at least favorite. I know you're out sick, but yes, I'm out sick. Or for when you get in on Monday. I'm unclear why you're planning my day. And again, we haven't even opened the email, and there are all these different ways that things can go wrong. So, yes, I don't know. Other quick questions and things, because I know that, as I mentioned, depending, I'm the only thing standing between you and the remainder of your evening, so I'm mindful about that. Yes?
Can you give any advice on networking in large groups of people that you don't know?
I think it's always good. This is one of these moments it's really good to bring a buddy. So for starters, that just makes it more fun. So what I like to do is A, bring a friend, and then B, make it a game. Who's going to leave here knowing more people? And so then that kind of, at least for me, that makes it a little bit more fun. And then it's just walking up to people and saying, like, if you're at the party, how do you know the host? People would love to tell you a story about how they know the host. And if you walk up to a group of 2 people, how did you 2 meet? Again, people are going to love telling you that story. Those kinds of things. So just, it's all about getting people to talk about themselves in that situation. I don't love what do you do. I think that can be a loaded question if things aren't going well. What do you like to do with your free time? You can always get away with that one. That makes people feel a little bit more sparkly. In terms of introducing some people to other people, one of the things that I don't love is when someone introduces me to somebody else and they're like, oh, you 2 are going to love each other. I don't know what to do with that. Like, I'm just meeting you. I don't feel love for you. And so that always, to me, is an awkward start to being introduced. So what I usually do when I introduce somebody to somebody else is just say, this is so-and-so, and this is so-and-so. This is why I think you guys have something in common, or you might have been wanting to meet, or all these different kinds of things. Again, give them a little bit of background, give them a little story, contextualize it for people a little bit. But you guys are going to love each other. It's like, whoa, scary. Yes?
Yeah. I see you in an elevator and I want to grab your attention, even for 2 seconds, that you're on the way to your car, late to wherever you're going.
Right.
Just to, make the acquaintance, so to speak, for those 2 seconds, just so that I can get your attention later. What do I do?
I think you can just say, I know we have such a short time in the elevator, but I just wanted to introduce myself. And again, and go from there. And then again, give them the because behind why you wanted to introduce yourself. Yes?
Your CEO clients,
Yes.
are they trying to be impressed, or are they trying to impress based on what you're talking about? It seems like it's both sides with what you've just said.
Or sometimes they've done something horrible and we need to clean it up. No, it really depends on the situation. Some of them need to persuade either their employees or their shareholders or whatever it might be about something that's going on. Some of them have done things that they probably shouldn't have done, and now we're doing cleanup. And then some of them are just trying to introduce themselves to a new company and get people on their side. So it really can run the gamut for all different kinds of things. That's one of the things I love about what I do is literally every day is different. And that makes it fun. So, yes.
I get the opposite problem with her. What I'm really terrible at is like late for something and I've got everything in my mind and I'm intense. And somebody whom I'd love to stop and talk with says, oh, hi, how are you? And I think I've just got to say, I can't do that. But I got to do it in a graceful way. What do you do?
Again, I think it filled them in like, in terms of, I love it. I would love to talk to you. I'm running so late. Please forgive me and then follow up with them later. And then it's about that follow up to send them an email or a text and say, I'm so sorry I had to rush off. Can we make a time to get together? But again, a lot of that is going to come down to your tone and your face and all of those kinds of things. Because if you look like you got your hair on fire, then other, and I do it all the time. Trust me, I'm not in wow mode. But it just you can always do a little back end cleanup on stuff, and I do a lot of that. I'm so sorry. Yes.
I have two quick questions. Do you still send thank you cards after an interview?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And in my dream world, you send two. So you would send an email, thank you note, within kind of 12 hours of the interview. And then if you really want to impress people, if you bring a pre-addressed stamped envelope to the interview with you, you leave the interview, you walk downstairs, you write your thank you note, and you put it in the mailbox underneath their office, and it's on their desk the next morning. And they think you are crazy great. And they shouldn't be the same thing word for word, they should be slightly different. But one of the other things that you can do, just talking about creating camaraderie and making interviews go well, is I always recommend taking notes in meetings and in interviews, because people love it when you write down what they say. It makes them feel special and important. So it does. It also reassures your boss that you're paying attention. The fastest way to make that point is, how relaxed are you when you give the waiter your order and he doesn't write it down? You're not. You're convinced you're getting the wrong thing. So if you take notes while you're in the interview, and if they mention anything about, oh, my kid has chickenpox, or Fido's at the vet, or whatever it might be, then I usually put that into the thank you note. Like, I hope Fido's feeling better, because what you want to do is, help them picture you already working there. So that's just an easy way to do that.
And suit versus dress.
Again, I think it will depend on the industry. Yeah, it's a little tense making, I think. Yes?
Do you have a phrase or a sentence or two if someone asks you what you do? Like, because I anticipate at a party, not everybody, whatever the event I go to, not everyone's going to know not to ask me what I do, so I'm going to be on the spot to summarize what I do.
All right.
Do you have a way to suggest to put together something?
What do you do? I'll tell you how to phrase it.
Oh God, I don't know. See, here we go. You got me. No, I do in-home personal fitness training, but there are bazillions of fitness trainers, so right. I don't want to be lumped in because I think my system is different.
Right. So I think that it's a matter of saying, I work with people who want to personalize their workout, and they also would prefer to do it at home rather than going to the gym. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, I want to personalize my workout. And so it's doing it that way. I think that using the word personalize is nice, because it is personal. In-home fitness training, to me it has a kind of an antiseptic quality to it. So I would use the word personalize instead. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And I like because it's kind of bringing it back to the egg idea of it's being, personal to that personal, and it's in your home.
And it's in your home.
When you're saying it is
for people who don't like to go to the gym, and all of a sudden everyone, again, it makes people feel special and important. It's true, I am so special, I don't want to go to the gym. Yes. I'm sorry, any other questions before I begin? Yes.
What is the best way to ask for a raise in your present job? In this situation?
You want to make an appointment, because nobody wants to get pounced on. So you don't wanna like walk into somebody's office and try that one and or tag it onto another conversation. So I would usually like go in and say, I want to talk to you about this. Can we get something on the schedule? So that's first, because pouncing on people makes them grumpy. And then you need to walk in with the number that you want and factual reasons why you deserve that. Because it can't be like, well, so-and-so down the hall got a raise, and I feel like, no. We want facts, not feelings. But you do have to pick the number. And then once you say the number, then stop talking. Because what happens, a lot of people go, well, I'm looking for this, but if you don't have that much, I totally understand. And you're like starting to do their negotiating for that. So just practice saying what it is that you want, and then no more. And that's really hard. So practice out loud ahead of time. Don't think that it's because sometimes, you can think you know how you're gonna say it, and then, at least for me, whenever I start to talk about money, I start to laugh. And then that's my credibility, like, completely down the tube, so. All right, so I am gonna start to wrap up. As I mentioned, I do have an Ask a Question button on the website. So if there's anything that you have questions about, please send me a note, because it's like my idea of heaven is getting a bunch of questions. And I don't think we're all sold out of books, so, but you can order them.
I think we have two books left.
There are 2 books if you want them, or you can order them. Or, as I said, the app for interviewing is free, and you can download it onto your iPhone. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Frances.
Gosh, now I'm scared to come over here and thank you. I just keep replaying all my little introductions. And so, anyway, Frances, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I think we all learned a lot. And I'd love to have you back talking about another subject. So if you all have ideas and you know what you talk about, and I think you mentioned it a couple of times, but it just seems so important to learn this stuff. So many thanks for coming here, and thank you all for coming to hear her. And see you soon.